Dana and I met in 2009 in Paris. She was there on holiday with her folks, and I was busking on the bridge behind Notre Dame. Her father came up and spoke to me and bought a CD, and then went back and told Dana that she should go talk to me. And she did. And we spoke for a while, and she told me about how she grew up on a farm in Minnesota. And I thought, wow, what an all-American apple pie gal. And I was charmed. We didn't see each other again for a few years, but we did stay in touch superficially through Facebook. Then I went to New York for a short visit, and Dana came to where I was busking in Washington Square Park, and we spoke again. And then I went back to Paris, and 2 years later, I moved to New York City and invited Dana to come to one of my gigs, which she did, and the gig ended at 10 p.m., and we were sitting at the bar talking, which seemed like for not a very long time. But then the bartender tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, it's 5 a.m. You guys got to get out of here." So I thought, wow, how time flies. About a week later, we met in one of Dana's favorite cafes in the East Village, and we spoke about life and what we want to do with our lives at this point. And Dana told me that she wants to travel. And I said, oh yes, I'd love to travel too. And she asked me, where would you want to go? And I said, well, I'd love to go on the great American road trip and travel across the United States, going from town to town, playing music, and going to all those great music cities. And she said, oh, well, that sounds like fun. And I said, yes, maybe we could do that together. And asked me when would I like to go on this road trip. And I said, well, immediately. And she said, well, I'm not free now, but perhaps we could do it in June. And this was early January that we were talking. So I said, yes, well, okay, well, we'll see what happens. Maybe in June we'll go on a road trip. Then, a week later, Dana invited me to go with her to Costa Rica on her winter holiday. And of course, I agreed and said yes, with pleasure. And we went down to this small little fishing village on the Pacific coast in Guanacaste in Costa Rica called Samara. And we absolutely loved that town. And we had a wonderful time for a month. And I even found gigs there and could actually work full time. So we actually extended our return flight for another month. And then we did that again and extended it again for another month, staying down there for 3 months. And we love it in Samara. It's a sleepy little fishing town. It has about 10 restaurants, and I play in almost all of them. They have a philosophy down there called Pura Vida, or pure life. They use this phrase often. They may use it for hello, Pura Vida, or goodbye, Pura Vida, or oh, something really fantastic's happened, Pura Vida, or something very bad's happened, Pura Vida. And everybody seems to be so calm, and there's a natural Zen-like state that the Costa Rican people are in.
Duermes conmigo toditas las noches, te quedas callada sin ningún reproche. Por eso te quiero, por eso te adoro. Y eres en mi vida mi único tesoro. A veces regreso por borracho de angustia, te lleno de besos y de caricias nupciales.
I don't know, maybe it's because of the heat. It's too hot to get nervous. I don't know what it is, but it's wonderful. And people also seem to be very content with very little. They don't seem to need a lot of stuff or money to feel good. They cherish their family life and their friends and live a simple life and are very content. Not to say they have to live like that, because Costa Rica is a very well-working country with a good economy, and if you wanted to, you could get all this stuff and live a complicated life like people do in New York or Paris. But it just seems kind of silly when you're facing the Pacific Ocean and looking at that big yellow sun and the blue sky, and at night you see so many stars. It puts things in perspective. So we love the Pura Vida philosophy, and we try to live that philosophy for the rest of the year.
She said Costa Rica, there is Pura Vida. I said cuánto tiempo. I said poco a poco.
Samara is one of those magical places. I don't know what it is. It's the positioning, this specific beach, the way the planets are aligned, I don't know, but it's one of those magical places where things just seem to fall in place perfectly. As long as you don't force it. That's the trick. To be in the right frequency and just let things fall into place perfectly. Sometimes it happens at the last minute. So that's the secret, is not to get stressed down about anything, and then there's nothing to stress about because everything will work out. We found that by being in the right frequency, almost like tuning in your radio dial, to get into the right frequency, then you can receive the transmission. They call Samara the black hole of happiness, because a lot of people just like us, they come down here and they plan to see more of Central America, but this is such a happy place that it's hard to leave. The black hole of happiness. It makes you wonder, sitting out here on the beach, especially at night, looking at the stars, you tend to contemplate deeper thoughts and concepts. You know, when I'm looking up at the stars and I see a shining light, and then I realize that star perhaps has died millions of years ago, but we're only seeing it now. But once upon a time, that star was a burning source of life. I think we human beings are burning sources of light and life. And perhaps after our bodies die, that light continues. And perhaps somewhere ages and ages hence, on the other side of the universe, there will be someone or something looking up at the night sky, seeing a twinkly star, and that's you. We're all stardust.